that are sugar-free. She must have looked at me and thought, he needs sugar-free. Okay. Welcome to this week's edition of the Weekly Travel Alert. I'm Steve Glenn.
I'm Paul Glenn.
Hey, Paul, we got new mics.
We're getting fancy.
We're mic-less mics.
We can use our hands. You can do all kinds of stuff now.
And Paul's got his, I'd call that the old...
the Russian pinstripe jacket. I got this in Russia on a cruise.
Hey, dude. Hey, we're talking travel today. Every week, the Weekly Travel Alert comes out. We've got an email that goes out to 100,000 people from Executive Travel, and we try to share what's going on in the news. Paul, today is a fun presentation. The 9 things that happened on a recent trip I had that made it the perfect trip.
I'm excited for this because I don't think I've ever had a perfect trip.
The 9 things that gave it a 10.
Perfect trip looks like.
All right, here we go. I was traveling to Italy and I was coming back, and I got into I was into Dulles really late, and then they had a delayed flight, and then I missed my connection past Chicago, and so I basically said, get me to Chicago. Okay, so that part of the trip was not good. Okay,
that's a standard trip.
Yeah, that's a standard trip. What I did is I got 9 steps, the things that I did that made it a perfect trip after that. And I think a lot of people will relate to this. So with that, perfect step number 1, I called the United desk and I said, I asked for options on flight the next morning from Chicago to Lincoln. And as I missed my flight connection in Chicago, the agent on the 1K desk booked me in first class.
Were you supposed to be in first class?
I was supposed to, but you never know if
they're going to open that up for you.
I thought, hey, I'm starting off right. Okay. So I get to Chicago, and the same agent said that because the flight was delayed because of mechanical issues, they'd text me a link to hotel and provide for food vouchers.
That's one of the things. I haven't had one where I've been stranded and had to overnight recently. I have had it happen historically, and it was a nightmare.
Yes.
They told me what hotel I was going to, and it was a total dive. So being given the option to be able to select that for yourself and have all that automated, that's definitely something that's a positive progression over the last handful of years.
You bet. Number 3 actually tells you what happened then. I selected a Wyndham Chicago O'Hare. It was a 3-star hotel, so I kind of going, ooh. I thought it'd be a dump, but I got there and was really pleasantly surprised. It was well lit, friendly people, clean. Okay. That's all I really care about, is a good bed, clean and safe, right? And they probably remodeled it in the last 2 or 3 years because it felt really good. And the staff was extra friendly.
And was that 5 minutes from the airport?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, and so I took the taxi cab to the hotel.
Okay.
And took the hotel shuttle back to the airport.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's step 3 on this 9 steps to the perfect trip that I had, which was really the perfect half trip coming back home. Or
it was
quarter
a correction to a trip that had gone sideways.
Yeah, it had gone sideways. So, and if you're like me, you just try to go with the flow. Wouldn't you say that's the
mantra?
Have to
at that point. It's every time you're traveling, something's going to go sideways. There's so much that's beyond your control. There's so much that's beyond the airline's control. We just dealt with significant weather over the last couple days here in the Midwest that threw everything off in Denver and everywhere. So, yeah, you just kind of got to, I always tell people, don't go into vacation mindset until you get to your destination, and then when you're getting ready to travel home, just be prepared because you never know what's going to go sideways on you.
Hey, the Weekly Travel Alert comes out every week, sponsored by Executive Travel. We've been in business now 38 years, and just finished our Simplifying Travel 2024. Had a great trip down to San Antonio, Texas. So I hope you stop by and see us sometime. Our world headquarters is Executive Travel, 1212 O Street, Lincoln, Nebraska. You can find us, as I said, at executivetravel.com, or we've got a pretty easy phone number to remember, 402-435-8888. Hey, we're going with the top 9 things that happened on a recent trip that made it a perfect trip. Perfect step number 4. United provided me, Paul, with 2 food vouchers,
Very nice.
Okay, that I could use when I checked in. But I was full, so they let me use that, in those little pantries they have.
Yeah.
So I went and I got NyQuil for
Okay.
my next time to stick in my suitcase. I got, what else did I get? I got some shaving cream.
Okay.
All these travel items that the little small ones that you're always short of.
Yeah.
And so they let me use it. I didn't need it for food.
Very nice.
I got a Fat Boy ice cream
well,
sandwich.
a little bit of food.
Yeah, that's a little bit of food. Okay. So the point is they were very flexible with me, and I'm sure they didn't care. They got their money.
Yeah, they just want their $20.
Perfect step number 5. My flight to Omaha departed at 8:55. Actually, I went to Omaha. So it allowed me to sleep in until 6:30.
Nice.
I got up and then jumped on a courtesy van at 7 to Terminal 2, right into my flight.
Very nice.
So it's nice when they have a hotel courtesy van that goes
convenient.
on the hour and the half hour.
Okay.
And you can make your reservations because a lot of people are going on that early van. So
Yeah, you got to make sure that you get that registration in the night before so they know to expect you and they don't let too many people on that one that you need to get into.
and that 8:55 flight is nice because you don't have to get up at 3 to catch the 6 o'clock.
Now, were you flying out of Terminal 2 or did you go to Terminal 2 for the
Well-
shorter security line?
Well, that's one of the secrets to get into United is sometimes when Terminal 1 is full, go to Terminal 2, which does United, and I was out of Terminal 2,
You
I
were,
think
okay.
E or F
E and
gate.
F, yep.
Yeah. So I went in there, and then that led to perfect step number 6.
Okay.
I go up there, and guess what? The TSA pre-check line was pretty long. Aha, I have clear. So I went through the clear. Nobody was there. I went ahead of 20 TSA pre-checkers. I literally never stopped walking. I went to the clear. They did your eye thing, and your all that
even
stuff.
clear in the Terminal 1 tends to be pretty quick and painless. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we've had to wait behind a handful of people at times, but that clear program definitely gets you that fast track.
Especially in the big airports. Now Omaha doesn't have it and places like that, and Lincoln for sure doesn't. Perfect step number 7 on this 9 steps to my perfect trip after 55 years is my flight departed from gate E7. So I went to the United Club in Terminal 2,
Okay.
enjoyed tea and a muffin for an hour while I waited on board.
Okay.
So it was like the old days. You casually walk, you go up to
Not
the
in a hurry.
United Lounge. I wasn't hurried, had a tea and a coffee because my throat was kind of sore. So I was hoping that would open it up.
And that United Club in Terminal 2 is actually a nice little club. They've got
Yeah.
windows. You can watch all the planes that are moving between those terminals E and F, and you get a good view out to the runways. So you can if you're a plane guy like me, I love to watch the orchestration of what goes on in an airport. So I love sitting in there and enjoying a nice drink and watching the planes go.
That's on the E side. Now, you're not going to believe this, Paul. Just a few days ago, they have a new lounge on the F side.
They do.
It's below, E is on the second floor,
Okay.
and F1 is underneath it, entering from the F side.
Really? Okay.
So smaller,
Okay.
more intimate, but they just opened it this last week. So I was one of the first.
I'll be flying this weekend through Chicago, so I
Yeah.
might have to check that one out.
Try the F gate. All right. So that was perfect step number 7. Perfect step number 8 to my 9 steps to the perfect flight. At boarding, I walked to the gate and walked immediately onto the flight. I didn't have to, it was just, how can all this just line up? No TSA line. I went around it, go up to the lounge, walk right up to the gate into the airplane.
Now, had they already boarded most of the plane, or did you just time it properly for that 1K?
The
to
1K
be able to-
entrance.
okay, so
and it was just
perfect
perfect
timing, yeah.
Perfect timing, had no wait. I just thought I've never had all these things line up at once. Perfect step number 9, and this is the most important part of the whole story. The magic of Tannis Ashworth. Tannis is the most amazing flight attendant I've ever had. I'm entering the flight. You know what she's doing? She's singing. And she's singing a song that I know. So I just wail away and have a little fun singing. And pretty soon we had probably half dozen people just singing rock and roll songs.
There you
and,
go.
And so we had here's the things that really caught my eye with how great of a flight attendant she was. As I was getting on the flight, she was singing, as I mentioned. She greeted everyone with a smile. You know, it's hard to even get a flight attendant to smile anymore. Instead of asking if I would like some coffee or tea, she said, "Mr. Glenn, would you like some coffee or tea?" I mean, she actually greeted me personally and knew my name because it's on a manifest, of course. And then she said, when she brought the tea, she said, "Get this, I've never had this happen. Are you left-handed or right-handed so I can turn the cup?"
Wow.
And when she set it down, I said, "I'm right-handed." So she turned the cup so my handle...
Well, that doesn't even happen when you're at a five-star restaurant.
I know it.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. And I was starting to catch a little cold, and guess what? She goes in the back and she brings me 3 cough drops that are sugar-free. She must have looked at me and thought, he needs sugar-free. Okay? And she also had this just great sense of humor. So I told her when she was coming back over, I said, "Hey, when you bring the caviar, I only eat beluga." And she smiled and she said, "And would you like your steak medium, Mr. Glenn?" So she had a sense of humor. Isn't that what people are looking for? They're not looking for plastic. They just want a friendly person.
Somebody that enjoys their job.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's what's missing. I had the opposite with the flight attendant on the flights back from Texas this weekend, where she was miserable in her job. And she didn't want to be there. She didn't care if you were happy or not. So it's nice to hear and to see that there are still people out there, especially within the airline industry, that enjoy what they're doing. And it's not all about, I always I don't get a kick out of it because I think it's kind of tacky, but anymore their lanyards are about their unions and their contracts, and they're making political statements with everything. It's like, keep that between you and your employer. You don't need to bear that burden or share that burden with people that the only way it's impacting them is negative, because you're obviously not happy with what you do. So it's nice to hear that there are some that enjoy what they do, and they're not just about, bringing their misery and sharing it with those others that are on the plane.
Absolutely. Her name was Tannis, Tannis Ashworth. I actually took a picture of her. They have a name badge.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping after this
hopefully
podcast, I'll send it to her,
somehow,
and then I'll send it to the CEO of United Airlines, and I'll say, "This lady is a keeper.
Mr. Kirby, you better recognize that you've got somebody good here."
This one great flight attendant. Ladies and gentlemen, we like to share some of the positive things that we see in the industry, and it's been fun today, Paul, to talk about not just the bad things, but the great things that can happen and sometimes it's just little things, isn't it?
This is just a lot of little things. That's really all it is.
Here. The fact that I get a hotel room that's clean, and in some of those hotels around, didn't you get one around Chicago O'Hare once that was like used as a flop house or something?
It was, yeah, the Red Roof, the Red Carpet Hotel, which the cabbie that dropped me off told me, "Don't leave your room. I will be back at 6 in the morning to pick you up, and don't do anything outside of your room between now and then." And then in the morning, he showed up, and then he told me why. And I don't need to get into the details of why.
No, I don't want to hear.
I appreciated the advice he gave, because it would have been enticing to sneak across the parking lot to the bar and have a drink after a long day of flights going awry. But I'm glad I listened to him.
You bet. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this week on the Weekly Travel Alert. I'm Steve Glenn, along with Paul Glenn. Paul, you might do all the zip, bang, boom.
Do the like, subscribe, share, and add any comments or feedback on topics that would be of interest for future episodes. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.